walking on a fragile line, afraid of every move. A silence pressing on our hearts, too heavy to improve. Your eyes are full of questions, but your voice won't dare to try. And every step feels closer to the moment we say goodbye. And even if we want the same, we're losing warmth inside the flame. When love stands on thin ice, every breath becomes a price. Trying hard to hold it twice, but breaking still feels just as nice. Yeah, when love stands on thin ice. When love stands on thin ice. We used to feel unshaken, built on trust and open skies. But now we tremble softly like the wind before it cries. You say you're scared of losing me, but scared to carry on. And in that contradiction, love begins to lose its dawn. And even though we try again, some truths get colder in the end. When love stands on thin ice, every breath becomes a price. Trying hard to hold it twice, but breaking still feels just as nice. Yeah, when love stands on thin ice. When love stands on thin ice. Maybe if we close our eyes, we'll stop the cracks before they rise. But in the quiet of the night, we feel the truth that steals our lives. When love stands on thin ice, fragile hearts to sacrifice. Even if the dawn divides, your echo forever stays inside. Yeah, when love stands on thin ice. When love stands on thin ice. We're standing at the last step, where the choices start to split. A moment where the truth arrives before we're ready for it. Your hands are cold and shaking like you're scared of letting go. But every tear behind your eyes reveals what we both know. And even though we want maybe someday the stars align and guide us to a different line. But in this moment, bittersweet, we let go gently at the beach. We're hearts on the final step, still holding on to what we met. Even when the sun has set, your memory stays like a silhouette. Yeah, hearts on the final step. Hearts on the final step. We're standing where the daylight fades and truth begins to rise. A moment filled with fragile hope beneath the shifting skies. Your hands still reach for mine, as if you're scared to lose the past. And in that trembling touch, I feel the love we want to last. And even though the storm is near, your heartbeat keeps me grounded here. This is the edge where love survives, holding on through shattered lines, fighting through the fear that drives the distance growing in our lives. Yeah, the edge where love survives. We've walked through fading memories, the ones we failed to save. And now we're on the borderline of everything we gave. You whisper that you need me, but your tears reveal the strain. As if our hearts are learning how to stand through all the pain. And even if the night divides, we still find hope in crashing times. This is the edge where love survives, holding on through shattered lines, fighting through the fear that drives the distance growing in our lives. Yeah, the edge where love survives. Maybe love is built from scars, from nights we break but still reach far. And even if tomorrow's hard, I'll meet you where the edges are. This is the edge where love survives, a fragile flame that still revives. Even when the darkness tries, your light remains when my heart dries. Yeah, the edge where love survives. We this road before, where shadows dim the light we chase. A moment where the fear returns and settles in your face. You say you're trying to stay strong, but something pulls you back, and I can feel the distance growing through the silent cracks. And even though we've made it through, some ghosts return to trouble you. I'm almost losing you again, right where the story always bends, trying hard to hold the end before the breaking starts again. Yeah, almost losing you again. We stand beside the ocean, where the past begins to rise. A fragile truth we've carried through the storms and through the lies. You whisper you're still with me, but your tears betray the sound, like love is slipping quietly before it hits the ground. And though you wanna stay this time, your fears are louder than the tide. I'm almost losing you again, right where the story always bends, trying hard to hold the end before the breaking starts again. Yeah, almost losing you again. Maybe if we heal the pain, we'll stop repeating this refrain. But if you walk away again, my heart will echo where you've been. I'm almost losing you again, a truth that lingers in the wind. Even if our time grows thin, your name stays written in my skin. Yeah, almost losing you again. Yeah, almost losing you again. We're standing in the quiet, where our voices start to fade. A moment filled with memories that love and time have made. Your fingers reach for mine, like they're afraid of letting go. And in that fragile touch, I feel the truth we both now know. And even though the night is near, your heartbeat whispers I'm still here. Just one more touch before goodbye. One last moment, you and I, holding on before we try to face a world where hearts run dry. Yeah, one before goodbye. The ocean winds are gentle as our shadows start to sway. The final dance between us all before we walk away. You say you wish that we had time to fix what slipped apart, but some goodbyes are written long before they reach the heart. And though we try to fight the end, some truths refuse to bend again. Just one more touch before goodbye. One last moment, you and I, holding on before we try to face a world where hearts run dry. Yeah, one more touch before goodbye. Maybe in another life we'd rise above the tears and strive, but here beneath the fading sky, we're learning how to say goodbye. Just one more touch before goodbye. Final spark that I won't deny. Even when our paths divide, your echo stays within my stride. Yeah, one more touch before goodbye. We're standing at the doorway where our hopes begin to thin. A fragile line between the end and trying once again. Your eyes are full of tension, like they're scared to meet the truth. And every breath feels heavier than moments of our youth. And even if we want to stay, the fear keeps pulling us away. We're trembling in the last chance, balancing on fragile circumstance, trying not to slip as we advance, fighting for the love we once enhanced. Yeah, trembling in the last chance. Trembling in the last chance. The ocean seems to listen as our voices start to fade, like every wave remembers all the promises we made. You whisper that you love me, but your tone begins to shake. And in the trembling of your heart, I feel our start to break. And though we're reaching through the night, some fights are lost before the fight. We're trembling in the last chance, balancing on fragile circumstance, trying not to slip as we advance, fighting for the love we once enhanced. Yeah, trembling in the last chance. Trembling in the last chance. promise was loving you. We're trembling in the last chance, still clinging to a fading trance. Even as the doubts enhance, your echo stays in my expanse. Yeah, trembling in the last chance. Trembling in the last chance. We're standing in the moment where the truth begins to burn. A place where every memory feels heavy in return. Your hands are cold and trembling, like they're scared of what's ahead. And every word you try to speak is drowned in what's unsaid. And even though we're close enough, the air between is growing tough. We're right before we fall apart, breathing through a trembling heart, trying not to lose the part where love still lives inside the dark. Yeah, right before we fall apart. The ocean winds remind me of the promises we made. Now fading like the daylight when the sunset starts to fade. You whisper that you're with me, but your voice is barely strong. And something in your silence tells me everything is wrong. We try to hold the line, it slips away like losing time. We're right before we fall apart, breathing through a trembling heart, trying not to lose the part where love still lives inside the dark. Yeah, right before we fall apart. Maybe if we close our eyes, we'll stop the break before it tries. But every tear that falls tonight reveals the end we cannot fight. We're right before we fall apart, a moment tearing us apart. Still your echo in my heart, feels like a fire in the dark. Yeah, right before we fall apart. Right before we fall apart. This is the distance where we break, where love is more than we can take, caught between the give and take, losing pieces we can't remake. Yeah, the distance where we break. Maybe time will heal this space, or wash the hurt from every place. But right now we can't escape the tidal pool of our heartbreak. This is the distance where we break, a truth too heavy to forsake.